Attention. Today is not an ordinary day. October 5th carries a subtle but powerful signal, one that reaches only those ready to perceive it. This is your final warning, but not in the way most would fear. This is a call, a quiet summons from the universe, inviting you to awaken to truths that many overlook. The moments you dismiss as coincidence are often gateways to transformation, and today the door has opened for you. I am Heng, and in this video, you will uncover teachings rarely spoken of beyond the walls of Shaolin. You will learn how discipline can free the mind rather than confine it, how awareness shapes reality in ways invisible to the untrained eye, and how moments of crisis, rather than breaking you, can ignite hidden strength. We will explore the shadows that often go unnoticed, desires, attachments, and patterns of thought that quietly steer your life. By understanding them, you can step into mastery over your inner world. By the end of this journey, you will see that personal mastery is not a distant goal, but a practice woven into every breath, every choice, every pause. This video will reveal why the universe seems to single out certain moments, why signs appear, and why your attention today is no accident. You will leave with insights that sharpen perception, strengthen resolve, and illuminate the path forward. Welcome to Shaolin Soulfire, a place where ancient wisdom meets the living moment, and where the fire of self-mastery burns quietly yet fiercely. Subscribe now and step fully into a journey that transforms not only your understanding, but the very way you move through life. Today, the signal has arrived. Today, you are ready. The quietest battles are often the fiercest. True mastery begins not in the world outside, but within the landscape of your own mind and body. Self-mastery is the practice of aligning every breath, every thought, and every movement with awareness. It is not the pursuit of power over others, nor the accumulation of accolades or possessions. It is the patient, relentless shaping of the self, so that mind, body, and spirit move as one. In Shaolin, we learn that the body is a mirror of the mind. Tension, distraction, or unrest in thought will ripple through posture, through movement, through energy itself. The discipline to remain centered, even when chaos surrounds you, is not born from force but from careful cultivation. This is why the path of self-mastery begins with observation, watching the mind's impulses, listening to the body's signals, understanding the subtle pull of emotion before it becomes action. Many seek to conquer the world, yet few recognize that neglecting the self is a vulnerability far greater than any external threat. Life tests those unprepared, and without mastery, even the simplest challenge can become a storm. Awareness becomes the shield, discipline the armor, and patience the sword. Through this, every encounter, every trial becomes an opportunity not to dominate, but to understand, to refine, to grow. Self-mastery is not a destination, but a practice repeated in silence. The final warning lies here. Without it, you drift, carried by circumstance rather than choice. Those who cultivate this inner terrain discover a strength unseen by others, a calm that nothing can disturb, and a clarity that reveals paths hidden to the hurried or distracted. The mind becomes a temple, the body its guardian, and the spirit its enduring flame. True freedom is often hidden behind walls we think of as restrictions. Discipline is misunderstood by many as a chain, a limitation imposed from outside. Yet, in truth, it is the key that unlocks the mind. Every structured practice, every moment of restraint is a step toward clarity, a step toward the ability to move through life without being pulled by fleeting impulses. The paradox is simple. The more you willingly limit yourself, the more expansive your inner world becomes. In the quiet halls of Shaolin, discipline is not punishment, but cultivation. The body learns to obey the mind, and the mind learns to obey awareness. A warrior does not strike because he desires, but because he has trained his impulses into precision. Similarly, the mind, left untended, drifts endlessly, chasing distraction after distraction, enslaved by every passing thought. Without structure, life becomes a river that sweeps one along without purpose. The final warning emerges here. An untrained mind is like a car without brakes. It accelerates toward danger without pause, veering from one impulse to another. The habits of thought, unchecked desires, and the inability to pause or reflect make one vulnerable to chaos. Discipline does not confine, it grants the ability to choose, to act from intention rather than reaction. It turns chaos into order, noise into rhythm, confusion into clarity. Through the consistent practice of restraint, whether in movement, thought, or breath, a space opens within where freedom is no longer an abstract idea, but a living reality. Each choice, each deliberate action becomes a testament to mastery over self. True liberation is the fruit of daily devotion to discipline, a quiet power that flows through every decision, every movement, every thought, creating a life led not by chance, but by conscious presence. The mind is like water, where it flows, life follows. Attention is the current, and energy is carried along silently, shaping the contours of thought, action, and being. Most people allow it to wander, drawn by every passing distraction, every fleeting desire. Yet in those who cultivate awareness, the mind becomes a tool, precise and steady, no longer scattered across 1,000 small fires. Ancient teachings remind us that controlling attention is the foundation of all discipline. The body can be trained, the breath can be guided, but the mind must be directed with care. When attention wanders unchecked, life fragments, experiences scatter, and the self becomes diffuse. Every moment lost to distraction is a moment where energy leaks, where potential is silently drained. The final warning is clear. Without mastery of focus, even the strongest effort dissipates like smoke in the wind. Awareness begins simply by noticing where the mind drifts, without judgment, and gently returning it. It grows through deliberate practice, through observing breath, posture, and thought. Energy follows attention naturally. When the mind rests in clarity, the body moves with precision, and the spirit responds with calm strength. Through this cultivation, ordinary tasks become acts of presence. Ordinary moments become gateways to insight. Awareness allows one to perceive not only the world, but the subtle patterns within oneself, the habits, the attachments, the impulses that shape life unseen. Each moment of redirection strengthens the inner landscape, turning chaos into order, distraction into harmony. In time, attention becomes a lantern in the dark, illuminating the path of mastery. Energy flows where the mind directs it, and life itself begins to respond to intentional presence. A focused mind is not merely disciplined, it is free, centered, and capable of moving through any circumstance with grace and clarity. Within the mind dwell subtle forces that often go unnoticed, shaping choices and steering life in ways unseen. These forces, the 5 hindrances, are desire, aversion, sloth, restlessness, and doubt. Each appears ordinary at first, a simple thought or feeling, yet each holds the power to cloud judgment, fracture focus, and weaken resolve. To ignore them is to surrender the reins of the inner world to shadows. Desire pulls toward what is fleeting, creating endless longing that never satisfies. Aversion pushes away what discomforts or challenges, breeding resistance and tension. Sloth dims energy and dulls the mind, making even simple effort feel heavy or pointless. Restlessness scatters attention like wind through leaves, leaving no ground to stand upon. Doubt questions every step, eroding confidence and stalling action. Together they form a silent storm, invisible until it shapes life's course without notice. The path of self-mastery asks not for the eradication of these forces, but for their recognition and understanding. Each hindrance is a mirror, reflecting areas of imbalance, untrained thought, or unexamined habit. By observing them without attachment, by meeting them with calm awareness, the mind begins to reclaim clarity and control. The final warning is urgent. Ignoring these shadows allows them to grow unchecked, subtly sabotaging progress, even when effort is applied elsewhere. Discipline becomes the guide here, providing structure to counter distraction, patience to endure discomfort, and courage to face uncertainty. In this process, every moment of temptation resisted, every surge of doubt acknowledged and set aside, strengthens the inner terrain. Over time, the shadows lose their power and the mind gains steadiness. The journey through these hindrances is not easy. yet it is essential. Mastery arises not from avoiding challenge, but from moving through it with awareness, presence, and unwavering focus. True strength is measured not by force alone, but by the ability to move with harmony. The wisdom of Shaolin teaches that the path lies between extremes. In the space where balance guides every action, strength without softness becomes rigid and brittle. Softness without strength becomes fragile and easily overcome. Stillness without movement stagnates, while movement without stillness scatters energy and attention. The middle way is the art of blending opposites, of finding the natural rhythm that allows life to flow without resistance. Balance is not passive. It demands awareness, patience, and discipline. Every posture, every breath, every step becomes a study in alignment of body, mind, and spirit. In moments of tension, when impulse pushes toward extremes, the practice of harmony teaches restraint and presence. It is the calm that steadies the hand and the mind when chaos surrounds, the quiet understanding that force alone cannot sustain mastery. The final warning echoes here. Extremes always lead to collapse. When thought, emotion, or action swings too far in any direction, energy becomes wasted, decisions falter, and the inner foundation cracks. Life, like a finely balanced scale, requires constant adjustment, subtle shifts that maintain equilibrium. Seeking alignment, rather than forcing outcomes, allows one to navigate challenges with clarity and resilience. In this practice, strength and flexibility, action and stillness, patience and decisiveness merge into a single flow. The disciplined mind recognizes that true power is not in domination but in equilibrium. Harmony is cultivated through careful attention to subtle imbalances, through the daily effort to measure action against presence, and through the willingness to yield when rigidity threatens progress. The middle way becomes both shield and guide, enabling movement through life with grace, focus, and enduring strength, where each choice reflects the quiet mastery of self. Pain arrives quietly, often uninvited, yet it carries a message that cannot be ignored. In the Shaolin tradition, suffering is not the enemy, but a teacher, a mirror reflecting the limits, fears, and untrained corners of the self. To resist it is to remain trapped, spinning endlessly against forces that cannot be avoided. To observe it, to meet it with awareness, is to transform it into fuel for growth. Every hardship contains information. The sting of failure, the weight of loss, the ache of disappointment, all are signals pointing toward areas requiring attention, discipline, and understanding. When the mind learns to receive these signals without judgment, the body aligns with resilience, and the spirit gains a subtle, unshakable strength. Pain becomes data, energy redirected, a hidden resource waiting to be harnessed. The final warning is clear. Resisting the test keeps one imprisoned, struggle avoided, lessons ignored, and discomfort rejected only extend the cycle of suffering. Mastery is found not in comfort, but in the deliberate choice to face what challenges the mind and body. Each moment of resistance overcome becomes a mark of inner refinement. Each trial endured with awareness strengthens the architecture of self, preparing the individual to move with steadiness through life's inevitable storms. Through disciplined reflection, the hardships of today become the power of tomorrow. The mind cultivates patience, the body builds endurance, and the spirit discovers a quiet courage that requires no applause. What once seemed burdensome transforms into a guiding force, shaping decisions, sharpening focus, and deepening understanding. Pain, once feared or avoided, becomes a companion on the path of mastery, a subtle flame that, when embraced, ignites the hidden strength that lies within, turning every obstacle into opportunity and every trial into a stepping stone toward inner freedom. True strength begins within, in the quiet spaces where body, breath, and mind converge. The ancient arts of Neigong and Qigong teach that the energy of life flows like water through subtle channels, shaping not only the body but the clarity of thought and depth of spirit. Each posture, each motion, each controlled breath is more than exercise. It is a conversation with the self, a cultivation of internal strength that cannot be taken or borrowed. The body becomes the teacher. Tension, fatigue, or imbalance reveals what the mind cannot yet see. Breath becomes the guide, linking movement with awareness, grounding scattered thoughts, and harmonizing energy. Through consistent practice, the inner landscape becomes a garden tended carefully, where focus grows, impulses soften, and clarity deepens. Every session of stillness or motion is a lesson in presence, a bridge from ordinary awareness to refined consciousness. Meditation trains more than patience. It trains the ability to observe without attachment, to witness the mind's fluctuations, and to return to the center when distraction arises. It is the mirror that reflects the mind's habits, the crucible where impulses are tempered, and the space where inner mastery takes root. The final warning is subtle but urgent. Without practice, insight fades. Moments of clarity are fleeting, strength weakens, and the mind drifts into patterns of habit and reaction. Discipline in daily cultivation is the thread that weaves awareness into the fabric of life. Small, deliberate acts of presence, posture, breath, mindful motion accumulate quietly over time, creating a foundation for resilience, focus, and self-mastery. Through these inner arts, the external world loses its power to unbalance the spirit. Energy becomes directed, the mind remains steady, and the body moves with harmony. What begins as practice transforms into living mastery, where every thought, every action, and every breath carries the imprint of awareness, discipline, and the enduring strength of the cultivated self. The heart carries treasures, both seen and unseen, yet often these treasures become chains. Attachments arise quietly, clinging to people, possessions, ideas, or outcomes, and with each grasp the mind narrows, the spirit tightens, and freedom recedes. In the ancient traditions, it is taught that ownership is often illusion. Nothing in the external world can provide lasting security or lasting peace. To hold too tightly is to invite suffering. Observing attachments requires honesty and stillness. It begins with noticing the subtle urges that drive thought and action, the insistence that something must be yours, the resistance to change, the fear of loss. These are not enemies, but guides, signposts pointing to where the mind is entangled. By seeing them clearly, without judgment or suppression, the mind gains the power to loosen its grip, to allow life to flow without constant struggle. The final warning resonates here. Attachments will eventually betray. That which is held too tightly slips away or transforms into disappointment and pain. The very desire for permanence becomes a source of instability. True mastery lies not in avoidance, but in cultivating detachment with clarity. Detachment is not coldness or indifference. It is the calm understanding that life is impermanent, that joy and loss are transient, and that the inner self does not depend on external permanence. Through this practice, the heart becomes spacious, able to receive and release without fracture. Energy no longer leaks in futile attempts to control what cannot be held. Freedom emerges as a quiet, resilient presence, a mind that moves through the world with awareness, compassion, and ease. Each moment of letting go strengthens the inner terrain, revealing that the power to remain centered lies not in clinging, but in the graceful acceptance of life's ever-shifting currents. Every journey begins in a single moment, but not every journey reaches its destination. True transformation is forged in the fire of full commitment, the kind that does not waver or hedge its steps. To start without hesitation is not merely to act. It is to pledge the entirety of one's presence, energy, and focus to the path chosen. Anything less is a half measure, and half measures dissolve into frustration, regret, and unfinished effort. Commitment is the invisible thread that binds intention to action. It turns knowledge into practice, thought into habit, and aspiration into mastery. In the traditions of Shaolin, a student does not train partially, nor does the warrior prepare only when convenient. Each movement, each breath, each repetition is approached as if it is the only one that matters, because it is within the small, consistent acts that true power emerges. Discipline alone is not enough. Without unwavering commitment, the mind drifts, the body hesitates, and the spirit falters. The final warning is unmistakable. Half-hearted effort guarantees stagnation. The lessons left incomplete, the practices abandoned midway, and the decisions delayed. These become obstacles far heavier than the challenges faced with full resolve. Life rewards those who dedicate themselves fully, who embrace discomfort, endure resistance, and maintain focus when distractions whisper. To start fully is to align mind, body, and spirit with the task at hand, to enter the path without retreat, and to accept the challenges it brings as necessary for growth. Every step taken with wholehearted intention builds momentum, carving a foundation that cannot be shaken by uncertainty or fear. Commitment transforms ordinary effort into living mastery, where each day becomes a declaration of purpose, each action a reflection of discipline, and each challenge an opportunity to step further into the fullness of one's potential. True mastery begins quietly within, yet its effects reach far beyond the self. The mind shaped by discipline, the body tempered by practice, and the spirit anchored in awareness radiate outward, touching every interaction, every choice, and every environment. The ripple of personal mastery is subtle but profound. Like a stone dropped into still water, its influence spreads in circles that reach far beyond the point of impact. Shaolin teachings emphasize that virtue is inseparable from mastery. Humility tempers strength, ensuring that power does not become arrogance. Service guides action, transforming skill into purpose that benefits others. Ethical conduct aligns intention with action, so that every movement of the body and thought of the mind contributes to harmony rather than discord. Mastery, therefore, is not a private achievement, but a living expression of balance, compassion, and integrity. The final warning is clear. Failure to master the self does not remain contained. Untamed impulses, unresolved fears, and unchecked desires inevitably spill outward, creating friction, tension, and suffering in the lives of others. One who has not cultivated inner steadiness may believe they act freely, yet their energy unknowingly shapes the world with imbalance. Personal mastery is the antidote, a quiet, disciplined cultivation that protects not only the self but those around you from the consequences of unchecked patterns. Every thought trained, every habit refined, every impulse observed becomes part of the ripple, extending far beyond what is seen. Inner mastery is not an abstract ideal, but a tangible force that alters relationships, communities, and even the energy of the spaces one inhabits. Those who walk this path learn that the true measure of strength is not dominance or control, but the ability to move through life with such centeredness and clarity that their presence heals, steadies, and uplifts everything it touches. Greatness is rarely born from sudden leaps. It emerges quietly through the rhythm of daily practice. Small, consistent acts, repeated with awareness and intention, form the foundation upon which mastery is built. The mind, body, and spirit are shaped less by grand gestures and more by the devotion to fundamentals, the simple disciplines that anchor the day and cultivate presence. Ritual becomes the framework of growth. Breath, measured and observed, steadies thought. Posture, held with attention, aligns energy and strengthens resilience. Moments of stillness, brief reflections on intention, and small vows kept quietly to oneself reinforce discipline and sharpen awareness. These are not mere routines. They are the scaffolding of transformation, connecting ordinary days to extraordinary depth. Every repetition, however small, deepens the inner landscape, forming habits that ripple outward into action, decision, and character. The final warning is subtle yet urgent. Neglect the fundamentals, and the structure of your progress collapses. One may pursue lofty goals or grand visions, but without the steady attention to daily practice, effort dissipates, clarity falters, and growth stalls. Mastery is not built in isolation or bursts of effort. It is sustained by the quiet devotion to small, deliberate acts repeated over time with presence and purpose. Reflection amplifies these rituals. Observing successes and failures, understanding the mind's tendencies, and adjusting practice accordingly turn ordinary acts into lessons. Each day becomes an opportunity to refine attention, strengthen resolve, and deepen alignment between thought, body, and spirit. Through this patient cultivation, Even the smallest acts gain profound significance, shaping not only skill and discipline but the character itself. In the constancy of ritual and reflection, the path of mastery unfolds, steady, resilient, and unwavering, preparing the self to meet any challenge with clarity, balance, and enduring strength. The message today is clear. This final warning is not meant to frighten, but to awaken. Life offers signs and moments that call us to presence, to awareness, and to deliberate action. Shaolin wisdom shows the path through discipline, clarity, balance, surrender, and persistent effort. Each step, each choice, each moment of attention is part of the journey toward your highest self. Mastery is not a destination to reach, but a practice to live. It grows quietly in the way you hold yourself in challenge, the way you observe your thoughts, the way you act with intention even in ordinary moments. By answering this call with honesty and commitment, you begin to transform not only yourself but the energy that ripples into the world around you. Take what you have learned here and weave it into daily life. Start with small acts of discipline, moments of reflection, and the practice of awareness. Let balance guide your decisions, and let patience and persistence shape your growth. The path is steady, not hurried, and each day offers an opportunity to show up fully, cultivating inner strength and clarity. May you move forward with calm, with presence, and with the quiet power that comes from mastery of self. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you feel the guidance here resonates, please like this video and subscribe to our channel, Shaolin Soulfire, so that together we can continue exploring the wisdom of the mind, body, and spirit. Peace and clarity be with you on your path.